Hey kids, wanna get lean? I wonder if Shoppers has hemorrhoid cream. Hi, Omer Surf Clam here. Today to talk about weight loss. I did it, I done did it. People saw the photos. In fact, Severin, throw them up some more. They can never see them enough. I'm going to detail everything that I did for my 2019 weight loss and how you can apply this for yourself. It really is quite simple, but I think a lot of individuals actually underestimate some of the complexity. Meaning, if you've never gotten lean before, you need to manage your calories effectively, you need to manage your training, and I'm going to be talking about both. Before I go on, I need to give a huge shout out to Dr. Eric Helms, PhD, my bro, co-host of Untitled Chapter podcast, who is an invaluable resource, having basically the best in the business. To consult with at any time was really useful. But essentially what I'm going to be talking about today and how it applies for everyone, I assume like most individuals that watch this channel, you kind of care about strength. And at some point in your life, you don't want to be fat. And I made that choice in 2019. And I'm going to detail how I lost almost 20 pounds in about 13 weeks while maintaining most of my strength. You want me to quantify that for you? I lost about 10% of my body weight and my strength went down 7% across the lift. So it wasn't even a relative decrease. It actually was less than that. I'd call that an accomplishment. Remember, if you're an intermediate or advanced lifter, trying to maintain all your strength while you're in a caloric deficit, it's quite hard. But I'm happy with the results. I'm happy with the physique and I'm happy with the changes I made. There's a few subtle differences that I think really do add up, and that's what I hope to explore and explain in this video. Let's start with nutrition. What did I do? In the first place, you're going to notice some numbers and how they apply to me because I'm telling you what I did, but I'm also going to tell you how it's applicable to everyone. Basically, you need to know, and there are no two ways about it, I think an individual can get pretty darn lean without counting macros. I don't think you could get very lean unless you're essentially starving yourself. And then the strength component would be hard to manage. So I think for most individuals, you do need to count your macros. Or if you know your macros, you kind of know what you're eating, that's okay. But you need to have a rough estimate. Basically what I did, I went 25% below my estimated maintenance when I was 198 pounds. So really my maintenance is closer to 2,900 calories. So it's about 20 to 25% below maintenance is what I started. Immediately, if you have excess body weight, which I did, you'll begin losing weight. So the first 1 to 3 weeks, and what you're gonna notice here, I'm cycling calories. So weeks 1 to 3, moderate deficit. Weeks 4 to 5, maintenance. I'm actually still slightly below maintenance. And then 6 to 8, once again, deficit, maintenance, deficit. So I'm fluctuating between the two. And in that way, I'm going to explain the training later on, why I think this is very effective for individuals that want to try and keep their strength, and as well for aesthetics. But okay, weeks 1 to 3, we kind of know that already. We're going 20 to 25% below maintenance. I do have about 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. I do think that's important from a satiety standpoint, from a lot of different standpoints. Of course, protein synthesis, it doesn't need to be quite that high, but 180 grams I think is a good starting base. My fats, I kept at 63 grams of fat, so it's not high, not low. I kept my carbs pretty moderate at 240 grams. For every individual, you have to figure out what works best for you. Some individuals will perform better with higher carbohydrates, lower fats. Other people would be the exact opposite. I find for myself when it comes to training and being in a deficit like this, 20% below maintenance or 25% below maintenance, I find that I do want my carbs. So that's the starting base. That was completely fine. Within 3 weeks, I went from 197.6 all the way down. I think I got to 192 pounds. So I finished at about 192, so almost 6 pounds. That was the first 1 to 3 weeks. That's easy. Anyone can kind of lose the initial 5 pounds. From there, however, what I did, I immediately jumped to maintenance. 2,700 calories is not maintenance, but it's within, I'd say 5%, 5-10% of maintenance. So we bumped the calories back up an additional 450. I'm feeling a lot better because I'll explain training in a little while, but because you're just starting out, when you start a fat loss phase, you could slowly begin to ramp up the intensity. You have all that extra stored energy, adipose tissue, your fat, that you can utilize your mental health. You're feeling great. You don't have the psychological wear of dieting for a long period of time. So you start training hard. But after about 3 weeks of dieting, you begin to feel it. So we enter maintenance, and this isn't just to give ourselves a psychological break. I'm talking about the physiological purpose. By taking this break, it restores some of the calories that you need in order to recover from your training. So we can continue to train a little bit harder. So weeks essentially 1 through 5, we're training harder. eating at maintenance, and then from here, what we do during the second phase right here, we start walking more. I know this sounds crazy, but it's the absolute truth. When you train, you actually don't burn that many calories. Yeah, I know, 405 for 12 on the squat. When I did that, that set was probably 30 calories I burnt, no joke. If you look at the average calories expended in a workout, I think it's between 150 to 250, so not a lot. If you walk for an hour right now, you would burn 400 calories. And in a way, it's muscle preserving where it's not taxing on your body. So it's a great way of just, one, exploring this beautiful city called Toronto, huh? And also just getting out and about, getting away from the house. I think for mental clarity, it's very important. But I began walking. And so at maintenance, I started walking about 5,000, 6,000 steps a day. So nothing crazy, but I did measure on my phone every single day my steps in the first 1 to 3 weeks, because I don't have to do anything. When you start in a deficit, you lose 5 to 6 pounds like that, right? I wasn't really stepping a lot. I was doing 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day. I was sedentary. And then I bumped it up 4,000 to 5,000 extra steps. That's additional 300 calories. So I bumped up my calories by 450, but I expended about 200, 300 more. What ended up happening, I lost in the 2 weeks of maintenance another 1.5 pounds. So again, I call maintenance weeks. It's roughly maintenance. I'd say it's about 5%, 5 to 10% below your actual maintenance. And you increase your activity. From there, when I went into the second phase, I did not increase the amount of expenditure, so the amount of steps that I took. Because now we go from 2,700 all the way down to 2,150. What's that? That's an additional 550 calories we're slashing. Carbohydrates are almost dropped 100 grams of carbs less. So now we reset training. So we train hard here, because once again, we're starting off the fat loss phase. We can handle 3 weeks of a deficit, no problem. Then we go into maintenance, so we get our mood restored, we get the energy restored, we have the extra energies to apply in the training itself. Then over here, we reset. So we lower the weights once again, because this next block, now that you're down, for myself, I was down 7 to 8 pounds, you're starting to feel it a little bit. So we reset down with the numbers that we're hitting when it comes to training. We do 3 weeks eating roughly 2,150. So if you notice from here, we actually decreased the calories by 100. That is once again because I lost about 7 pounds at this point. And also compared to here, we're walking about 3,000 to 4,000 more steps per day, so we're burning a couple hundred more calories every single day. No additional cardio was done, and I want to emphasize that. Nothing was changed besides walking more, adjusting my calories, and then adjusting my training. And it really is that simple. Eric, when he got on stage recently, basically did the exact same thing. We just followed this process all the way down. But there is a huge caveat to all of this, and that is, I knew I had muscle underneath this. Eric actually, when he saw me, this was 2 months ago at Alan's gym, he said, trust me, like when you cut, you'll be surprised how much muscle you have. You need a solid base, because for some people, you might do this, you might do it effectively, you're like, man, I feel small all the way at the end. That is because you need a certain amount of muscle mass in order to begin to look like you lift. But with that being said, the third phase right here, we're still in a deficit for 3 weeks, 2,150, which is pretty low. I know for some people it might come as a shock, but I'd also urge everyone to check out Vitruvian Physique. Igor, he recently competed, and if you compare, he's a little bit taller than me, he's 6 feet, but if you compare our weight loss journey, I started off a little higher than him, but our calories for how much we weighed, pretty much the same. So we go 3 weeks at 2,150. Training's gonna get a little bit harder, and then from there we bump the calories back up. How much? Well, once again, by about 450 calories. So we go to 2,600. So in that way, we're down 100 calories from our previous maintenance. But by this point, so we're 8 weeks in, I'm already down another, I think it was 5 pounds. So I was approximately 185 at this point. So I was 185 pounds by week number 8. And then from here, we're gonna go into maintenance, and we're gonna bump up the carbohydrates. You're feeling a little bit better. We're still slowly ramping up the training from this point right here. So the first training block, we start intensifying here, we reset, we start intensifying, and we reset one more time. So there's 3 training blocks and 5 nutrition blocks. It might sound like a lot of information, but for those that really wanna get into great shape and you wanna watch this shit honestly for free, this is it right here. Okay, so we went to maintenance, we bumped down the calories by about 100 because now we're down over 12 pounds, 11, 12 pounds. And from here, we're bumping up the steps. So we're now doing the final increase. From here, my average daily steps were between 8 to 10,000, and I maintained this all the way through to the end. So I went basically from 1,000 to about 5,000, now to 8 to 10,000, burning 200 to 300 more calories per day. Slowly at this point, because you're 12 pounds down, your mood will likely be altered. You'll be feeling a little bit more tired. Sleep might get a little bit more sporadic, especially as you get to a lower body fat percentage. At this point, I was seeing my abs. And so from here, once again, after going at maintenance, and again, we define what maintenance means, I was about 184 pounds at this point. So I was about 184 by the end of week 10. I was already down almost 14 pounds. So over a pound a week. Even though I'm only in a big deficit for 6 out of those 10 weeks, I still managed to lose almost 14 pounds. And my strength in the gym was going along at a solid pace. Now, the final 3 weeks, we bump it down one more time. So we decrease it by 100 calories, once again. Where does that come from? It comes from our carbohydrates. You'll notice that protein is pretty damn consistent. Carbohydrates change, and the fat content changes between maintenance and deficit. This is all pretty typical. If this is new to you, that's cool. Take some notes. But from here, what we did, we went down an extra 100 calories to 2050. I was 184 pounds, and now I'm walking 10,000 steps a day. So versus week 1, I'm expending now an additional 500 to 600 calories every single day. So I'm eating 200 calories less, and then I'm expending an additional 500 to 600 calories a day. That equals a grand total of about 750 additional calories being burnt. And that's significant, from 197 to 198 to about 183. In these final 3 weeks, I went from 183, 184, all the way down now to 179.2. And in this way, we went 20 to 25% below maintenance, 5 to 10%, 25% below maintenance, closer to that, 5 to 10%, and then once again, 25 to probably 27% below maintenance is what we ended up going at, and it worked excellent. It was everything that I wanted. If I wanted to continue, I would essentially follow the exact same thing. I am happy with this level of leanness. At this point, I was able to maintain my strength pretty damn well, but if I lost even more weight, it'd be harder. Honestly, it'd be harder. And now I briefly want to talk about the training component, because we outlined kind of the weight loss, the nutrition, and nutrition really is everything, and we outlined the cardio, which came in the form of walking. But when it comes to training, I was training full body. I was training 5 times a week. Essentially, I would do either a squat or deadlift to open up the day, and then it'd be a push or pull variation. So on 3 days of the week, the second movement would be a bench press or a pressing movement, and 2 days out of the week, I would do a pulling movement, most likely a weighted pull-up. I do between 6 to 8 movements in total, more like 6. And when I say 8 movements, I'm really talking about core at the end would count as an additional exercise. So really 6 compound movements, multi-joint movements, 5 to 6 of those, 5 days a week. I'd periodize the training. So once again, just think to yourself a little bit like a linear periodization, where weeks 1 through 5, we're increasing intensity. So let's say we start with, this isn't what I did, but a 5 by 5 at maybe 70%, increasing it by 2.5%. By week 5, we're at 80%. Then we reset once again. We reset all the way down to 70%. We increase it slowly all the way to probably around the 4th week in the second block. So probably week 9, reset it one more time. And by there, you're dealing with lower percentages because you honestly just won't have the energy. But full body is my approach that I did. I found I was able to have an effective workout every single day, which was important. I didn't have enough energy for a particular body part. So if I did 5 chest exercises, by the end of that movement, I'd be completely done. You know that feeling when you're in a deficit, when you don't have a lot of energy? It just feels like you have no strength left in the muscles. It's not like you can't apply yourself. You can strain all you want, but that mind-muscle connection is kind of just gone. So for myself, I wanted to keep the quality of the training, and that's why I did full body. But you could do any variation of this. I'm explaining in my methodology what worked for me, an individual that wants to keep their strength, wants to keep pursuing strength, wants to, after this, I'm going into a lean mass phase for about 4 to 5 months, and then I'm going to evaluate from there. I have some very exciting plans in 2020, but I did want to go over the nutrition, what I did, the training, how I approached it, and lastly, the cardio. There are no secrets. There's nothing magical here whatsoever. I have been training for a decade, and once again, in 2013, I did something relatively similar, not as exact because quite frankly, I didn't know as much then, but I got decently lean. That's where I had the photo of me in the pink stringer where I posed. That was me actually right around the same weight that I got down to here. This time, now 5 years later, I'm a little bit bigger. Makes sense, right? Training for a while. But no secrets, nothing magical. This is training. This for the bros out there that say, oh man, like, you shut up and lift. It really, It's a little bit more complicated than that, especially if you want to look good, especially if you want to maximize your potential. So I hope you learned something in this video today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, make sure to like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next one. Peace.
Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.